resume the meeting. Mr. Jefferson, your floor, item E.
Item E is probably another continuation of, in case we come to a roadblock with discussing about the appointments, then looking at it from a different level concerning the board. We just now hope that we should have got some from our lawyer about resolutions or statutes or something. We changed the language, and it was asked me from Tallahassee, Mr. Jefferson, if you remove the board, will the city council be willing to take over the board, housing authority board? I said I cannot speak to that, and then that could be up to these other members. But if we did it, then it's treated like we do the CRA board. 5 council members and 2 members at large. If we got nowhere with removing those members of the board, then the next step was, let's just change the language, and then if we could do it with conjunction with state statute, and then our resolution, because we are the lawmakers here in this municipality, the city councilmen are, we are the lawmakers. So we just changed the language, we put everything into our lap. I would rather work with our mayor and work with everyone else, but something has to be done in order to make sure. There are numerous emails that are sent to Senator Simon and Representative Schultz, from Ms. Karen, from them talking with me. A number of emails have been sent about the complaints of the executive director as of January of this year instead of the director. And my thing is, I'm looking how can I dig in and get things done and do it legally for getting things done. I have no desire to point fingers at the director. I see the problem was with the board. Mr. President, that's my concern. Those are my issues, and we're going to discuss and move forward. Mr. Attorney, legally, how can we do that for us if there's a resolution change on our part dealing with state statute in conjunction? Then by all means, if you care to elaborate.
Yes, you cannot pass a resolution appointing yourself being the board as the housing authority. Mm-hmm. That is governed by 421.05. Mm-hmm. and if you wanted to change the composition of a housing authority board, mm-hmm. which is designed specifically to be independent from a city council, and you can even see that it's intended to be even one more layer removed from a city council because the mayor has the authority to appoint and remove. So you would have to get your legislative delegation to change Florida statute 421.05 to allow for a city council to act as the housing authority commissioners. And absent that, you're stuck with the current composition and process for appointment.
Okay, because like I said, taking on that task as a city council, we got enough going on, trying to oversee our city, but a compassion we'll have for all of our citizens within this city, and no matter where they live, how much money they have, how much money they don't have, and all of that. Just thank God that I'm able to be able to purchase something, and others are to rent. So whatever we need to do, then if you have to pick a new board, then that's feasible and fine with me. But there are 3 board members who are completely not in compliance with what's going on. So, Mr. President, that's my summation. All right? Or if you need to make a decision or whatever else.
Well, I think I'll yield to the city attorney in just a moment, but I mean, at minimum, it's obvious there are a lot of frustrations. I'm conjecturing that these meetings that the board holds are quarterly. Can somebody confirm that? Anybody?
Don't know.
quarterly?
Yes, they're on quarterly.
Quarterly, thank you. And there's concern that some of the, when the meeting gets canceled, it's, you know, then it becomes a biannual type event or something of that nature. I'm just going to yield to the city attorney here. I know that it is the way the statutes read right now. It sounds like we're bound by the statute. However, short of that, I think that there is a reason why. I'm not saying that it's a perfect system, because I think we live in an imperfect world and imperfect systems all throughout it. But I don't know what. I mean, is there anything that we can do differently? I'm just kind of
Not other than what I described.
yeah. I think we're bound right now by that. Now,
Like
whether
I say, the legislature can come in and allow for a recomposition of a board, but it's going to have to change that statute through legislation.
Well, Mr. Attorney,
And I can tell you, with the way the bills are designed, certainly won't happen this session if our delegation was willing to put a bill up for consideration to rewrite 421.05.
but I'm not even concerned about the entire state. I'm just talking about the Reliable Housing Authority. That's what I'm concerned about.
Right, but
In my
because that
system.
statute controls every housing
Correct.
authority in the state.
Yes, sir.
They can't do one, pass a law that
Correct.
deals only with live oak. They would have to revamp that whole statute.
We'll keep digging.
finish Mr. Gibson?
Yes, sir.
All right, then we'll move on to item 8, Mr. City Manager.
One thing before we get into the meat of all this, I've had a council person bring this up, and I've, actually after you rehired me this year, I thought about doing this, but she brought it to my attention. I think it would be good for this board to have a pre-meeting before meetings, because for some reason we seem to miss out on all of our communication. And a lot of this stuff could be discussed in a pre or a planning meeting, however you want to discuss it, before the real meeting hits, where everybody has gotten a lot of points across, or maybe have already come to a better knowledge of the facts or of some of the things being presented. So it was brought to my attention. I can't make the rules or, ask for this to happen without your approval. But I think we would all do better, especially when budget meeting time comes. We have a lot of discussions to have then, and we do have regular budget meetings. And I had individual ones with everybody, during this period of time. But just for the regular part of the year, I think it'd be good if we met sometime prior to our regular meeting to get a lot of these things on the table and get them discussed, so that our meetings are a little bit smoother and work better for the public.
Now, let me say this here. We've, and Mr. Attorney, you can weigh in on this, please. Now, Mr. Session, you talking about having a pre-meeting. Are you talking about all 5 council?
Yes, sir, I am. They do it in other counties and other cities.
I'd have to
Mr.
look at
Attorney?
the procedures, but off the top of my head, that would require public notice.
Right.
It would be just notice, just like this meeting is.
Right.
It would just be noticed for 5 or 6 days ahead of time.
And what are the legal ramifications? Are we, because it is a public meeting, the public has to be here.
Well,
So
it's determined by the agenda, so, again, I found out about this tonight, so I'd have to do some digging. But one possibility would be discussion of item A, B, and C, all right, at hypothetically the Thursday meeting. So, that Thursday meeting, there would be no possible action. So there would be discussion of issue A, discussion of issue B, discussion of issue C. That would be advertised just like this meeting is. An agenda would be put out, worded kind of like that. Then the items to be addressed in this type of meeting would have discussion, because you may have to rediscuss some of them, and possible action. And that would allow you to take action at a meeting like we are here tonight.
Mr. Attorney, make sure I'm not mistaken. Is that a workshop?
It's about the same thing.
No,
Uh,
this would be a workshop.
Now, a workshop is a little different because a workshop has to have a definitive subject matter.
Mhm.
And no action can be taken at a workshop.
Of course. And then what you talking about, we discussing A, B, or C, or whatever items, still workshop.
Can
might
I
have
say-
thought.
Here's my suggestion.
Uh-huh.
Let me do some research and look at some protocols and procedures and bring this back before you.
And, go ahead, I'm sorry.
In 2014, 2015, the city council, Live Oak City Council, they did do the workshop or the meeting before the meeting process. It seemed during that time that more things got taken care of. And it's looking back, I think that we will be more productive as a city council if we work some of these things out before we come to this meeting right here. And it is a workshop. They did label it as workshops. They have a set time. I think it was the Mr. Clerk, you may remember, Mr. John, you may remember what particular day that they did, they had these workshops on.
Back then, this is when we were transitioning from city.
Administrator to city manager.
Correct. And back then, the council members, they all had their own committee. You had fire committee, police committee, and each one of the council members had a committee.
Right.
And what those committees, they were 3 members with all that. And those committees would meet prior to a meeting, and they would discuss items in their respective committee. And then they would bring it to the board, and they would say, as a committee, we heard this item, and it's our recommendation as a committee that the council as a whole should hear it. Unfortunately, most of the other 2 council members who didn't attend, they wanted to hear everything that happened, but it was all always rehashed the second time.
Right, but they went past that after that time
After
period.
that, then we
They
went
went to the,
to
I
city
would say,
manager form
meeting
of government,
before.
and
Right,
then they did away with all the committees.
right, they did away with the committees, and then the council met together,
Right.
and then it was a workshop.
Right.
And,
But it wasn't a regular event, it was just ad hoc, whenever they needed.
okay,
Well then,
so
for,
I just think that it would help us get more done, be more productive as a city council.
now, where does, Mr. Attorney, where does sunshine law fits in this type? Because we sit and meet individually, city manager, and discuss things before meetings and all that, which I disagree with. But where does legally for sunshine law?
Generally speaking, if there are 2 or more council persons present, there can be no discussion of any item or issue which may reasonably come before this board. So any type of meeting or workshop will have to be publicly noticed so that the public can attend, they have the right to comment, whole 9 yards.
All right, okay then. Mr. Sessions, like I said, I don't even like meeting me and you and some others, minus my councils, because I just have issues with that. Because now, to me, my opinion is that now you're trying to formulate how I might vote. That's my opinion.
No,
All right?
sir.
No, that's my opinion.
Right, I'm not
And
trying
so-
to formulate or
Right.
influence anybody.
Correct.
I'm just trying to get things discussed, and I'm on other boards. And a lot of these boards have, what they call, consent agendas that's been discussed or studied, that the board approves the consent agenda, A, B, C on item 9 or something, that everybody understands it. And so they put that on the consent agenda to approve the consent agenda, and then they discuss, other parts of the meeting and the agenda in detail. But there's some certain things after discussion that everybody understands, even informational things, that you could move through the agenda a little quicker, even if you had a consent agenda. So all I was trying to do is have some discussion prior to the meeting to where especially for fact finding, it's just numbers that gets presented to y'all for certain things. You'd understand all those numbers instead of trying to go through them during the meeting, that's all. But it's y'all's prerogative of what do you want to do. I know that other municipalities and other counties do this regularly, and I've seen them have pretty smooth meetings.
Mr. President, I'm finished.
All right, moving on to item A, please.
All right, we're going to discuss resolution 2025-07.
City Council Resolution number 2025-07. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Live Oak, Florida, authorizing the execution of an amendment to the traffic signal maintenance and compensation agreement with the State of Florida Department of Transportation and providing for an effective date.
All right. Be the pleasure of the council.
All for motion for 2025-07.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Questions, comments, concerns? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, like sign. Resolution 2025-07 is confirmed, passed. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Sorry, B is resolution 2025-08.
The City Council Resolution number 2025-08, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Live Oak, Florida, authorizing an addendum to the city's gas services agreement with Florida Gas Utility, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, and providing for an effective date.
We read all the items and all the information was given to us in our packet. We have a motion with the pleasure of the council.
I make a motion that we accept the resolution 2025-08.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions, comments, discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, like sign.
All right, the next is a discussion with possible council action of Florida Gas Utility information related to gas hedging. And I'll let this young lady present this.
Yes, ma'am. I recall the last time we had a discussion like this, in my mind, Mr. Jefferson pointed out clearly that I'm not an engineer, nor am I qualified to be a gas hedge person, so I'm hoping I understand this one better than I did the first time around.
I'll try.
Go ahead.
So, good evening. I'm Katie Hall. I'm the General Manager and CEO of Florida Gas Utility. Thank you for having me today. You are correct that natural gas hedging is a complicated subject. I'm going to try my best to keep it as high level as possible, but feel free to stop me at any time and we can dive deeper into any of these slides. So what is hedging? So hedging is just an investment, a type of investment to reduce the risk of adverse price movements. That's very important to note. So any commodity virtually can be hedged: corn, gas, natural gas, you name it, you can probably hedge it. And there are several hedging products available, but we're just going to stick with kind of vanilla. We're going to stick with futures contracts and call options today. So why do we hedge? This is probably the most important slide on this deck. Hedging is not trying to beat the market. We are not trying to get the lowest price available. What we're trying to do is have a stable price. We're trying to reduce volatility. We're trying for residents that have maybe fixed incomes to be able to afford their gas bill every single month. That's the goal of this. Think of it more as an insurance policy. So if you have home insurance, which I'm sure most of you do, you're not upset if your house doesn't burn down, right? But you have it there in case you need it. So don't be upset that it's there as a protection, but it's not there. You're not trying to get the cheapest cost. When should we hedge? So this is also a place that a lot of cities go wrong. So typically hedging is done when prices start to run away from them. This happened a couple years ago. We all saw it in our gas bills. We saw it in our electric bills because that generates the electricity. The prices started to go up and everybody panicked and said, we've got to stop the bleeding. And then everybody wanted to hedge. Really, the proper time to hedge is right now when prices are low and stable. To put that in perspective, when the prices got high in 2022, we had a lot of cities lock in gas prices around $6 a decatherm. Just to put that in perspective, right now they're about $3 to $4 a decatherm. So some of those hedges they're still paying $6. Some of the cities that had ongoing programs had actually locked in $2 gas. So when everybody else was paying $6, $8 gas, they were paying $2 gas, just because they had this ongoing program. So we're going to talk about an ongoing program and kind of set some basic parameters, and that's what we're going to discuss today and see if that's something you guys are interested in. So the current forecast, as I just mentioned, gas prices right now are about $3 to $4 a decatherm. That's the unit we buy gas in. That equates to about 30 cents to 40 cents a therm, which is what you probably bill in. That's good pricing right now. That's kind of where the market is a pretty sweet spot. It's a little bit high right now coming out of winter. That's normal. But our biggest concern is we see indicators that prices might rise in the next year to 2 years for some of the reasons listed here. So more LNG is coming online. LNG is liquefied natural gas. It's been very hot in the news lately because we're talking about exporting it to overseas countries to use it. They're also using it for cruise ships. SpaceX is using it to launch the rockets, so there's lots of demand for LNG. There's all these ports along the East Coast, and these are not small customers. To put this in perspective, one LNG facility can use about half of what the entire state of Florida uses in a day. So these are large users. They're not all that big, but they can be that big. So that's just basically to increase our demand. On the flip side, we don't have a supply problem. Sorry, I had one step back on that slide. We don't have a supply problem. We have plenty of supply. You hear this all the time. We have more natural gas in the United States than there is oil in the Middle East. That is true. However, we have an infrastructure problem. We cannot get the gas supply from the wells to the state of Florida. We're a peninsula, right? Everything has to come in through a couple of pipes. And what we've seen when we had our very cold snap of winter a couple weeks ago, the pipeline gets constricted. We have bottlenecks, and they were cutting it. So everybody was trying to buy the gas and get it to Florida, but it wasn't actually flowing into Florida. Nobody's addressing that right now. So I still see that as a major problem that hasn't been fixed. It is fixable, we just haven't started doing